Hi, thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of living in Boulder, Colorado. Are you thinking of moving to Boulder but want to know if it's for you? Well, I've lived in Boulder for 32 years. My kids were born and raised here, and my husband worked as a scientist at one of the federal labs. So I'll give you my perspective on what I've seen. In a nutshell, Boulder has an atmosphere where there are a lot of cool things to do and a lifestyle that keeps you young. It's unique and eclectic and on the cutting edge in many areas, so it caters to a wide range of people. Also, from what I've noticed, people either absolutely love it or they hate it. Yeah, it's very opposite. I've heard people say that it's the best place in the world to live, where I've also heard people say that people that haven't lived here that say they would never ever live in Boulder and seem very adamant and turned off. Now, I don't know why they make that comment, but my guess is that it's a preconceived idea that they formed due to some of the pros and cons I'll discuss today. I've also noticed that many university students fall in love with Boulder and often want to stay once they have finished their studies. Some of the ones coming here for college do choose Colorado for its outdoor lifestyle, and at the end of the day, that's one of the big appeals for them wanting to stay, along with the vibe Boulder has to offer. The only problem they encounter is the real estate market. So let's start with the cons of living in Boulder. So if you can get past these, maybe Boulder can be for you. My first con about living in Boulder is the social aspect. Now, this might come as a surprise and might be controversial, but I've heard many people having difficulty making friends and fitting into Boulder for a variety of reasons. They don't seem to find their people. Some say it's cliquey, but I guess you can get that anywhere. They also say that people just don't seem interested in reaching out. And last, I've heard that the atmosphere hasn't always been friendly. I think it depends where in Boulder you live, but I've repeatedly heard this difficulty forming friendships for years. Boulder, like many towns, is very transient. I like this saying, not a native, but I got here as fast as I could. From personal experience, I know that I would always organize block parties, and it often took years for people to want to come out and join. In one of the neighborhoods, eventually the neighborhood came together somewhat, but in my other neighborhood, the block parties died once I left. It seems to vary from neighborhood to neighborhood and situation to situation. Now, moving on along to my second con. Unfortunately, the cost of living in Boulder is very high. I know that certain people living in high-cost towns, such as Boulder, do get a cost of living increase in their salaries to offset higher cost of items like real estate. So, speaking to the high cost of real estate in Boulder, in the second quarter of 2024, the median price of a home that sold was $1,065,000. And when it comes to rent prices, they can range from about $1,500, it does go lower than that, for a lower or smaller size unit to over $7,000 per month, depending on size and location. For $1,500, you'll typically get a small one-bedroom or studio apartment that's in rough shape. For the $7,000 a month, you're at the higher end of the rental market. You are getting a place with a great location and or lots of square footage. Of course, prices go above the $7,000 price point. I'd say on average, a rental price would be between the two price points, the mid 3,000s. This is an example here of what a single family home in North Boulder that rents for $3,600 looks like. It's got 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, about 1,500 square feet, and a small yard. It backs to a bike path and is near a park. Now, rents are definitely high in Boulder, and people coming from certain states are shell-shocked at these prices, especially for what you get. Now, moving on to other cost of living items such as groceries. Boulder groceries are higher compared to the national average. This is partly due to the city's higher overall cost of living and local food sourcing. Now, when it comes to utilities, the price is generally in line with or slightly above the national average, depending on usage and the size of your home. With transportation, costs can vary depending if you are taking your car to work or riding the bus, which few people ride the bus to work. In Boulder, they mainly will cycle if they don't take their car, or I guess walk also. Boulder does have a really good public transportation system. Now, regarding healthcare, costs in Boulder are relatively high, which is what you are seeing in the broader trend in Colorado. And regarding entertainment and dining, eating out is very expensive and pricey. Now, real quick, if this is your first time on my channel, my name is Michelle, and I'm a licensed local realtor here in Boulder, Colorado. I produce these videos as a way of helping people if you're considering a move to Boulder or the Boulder area. I'd love to help you. So if you're interested in working together, give me a call, text, or email. Now, before I begin, I want you to stick around to the end where I'll talk to you about how you know that someone is or isn't from Boulder. Now, my fourth con of living in Boulder is the lack of late night activities. Since Boulder's really centered around the outdoors, the town closes early. Now, many times I've been out on a Saturday night in downtown Boulder, and you'll have people out for dinner, then walking around, but soon after, people head home, and by 9 o'clock, it's pretty well dead. The lifestyle in Boulder is centered around outdoor activities and families, except if you are a university student. Now, university students do have a nightlife, but it is more on the hill, which is across from the university and also along Pearl Street Mall. I've also noticed that it isn't the type of town that has a lot of parties and outdoor barbecues. So if you're from the Midwest, you might feel a little lost for a while. Now, moving on to the cons, but this one could also be seen as a pro, depending on your child and the level of challenge they like. The level of performance is exceptionally high from the students here. I know when my kids were in school at the elementary, middle, and high school level, it was shocking to see the high level of abilities and talents of some of these students. I remember going to Fairview High School talent show, and the level of abilities would match professionals in their various fields. This could be singing, dancing, theater, and of course jumping to the academic side. It works for some students, but for others it is hard to shine when your abilities don't match others. I know parents that experience both sides of this con, and it in itself has its pluses and minuses. At the high schools, the International Baccalaureate program and or the Advanced Placement programs and exams are offered, and according to the U.S. News School Report, the AP program, Advanced Placement program participation rate at Fairview High School is 63%, which I am sure is way above the national average. Now, many kids from Boulder get into highly reputable colleges. Either they want it or their parents want it for them. Now, remember, this is my opinion and what I saw while my kids were growing up. Now, moving on to the pros. My first pro is, of course, the outdoor lifestyle. And if I had to define Boulder in a couple words, outdoor lifestyle would be the words I'd choose. The town is even geared socially in that sense that many times when people get together, it will be outdoors to exercise in some way. That's it in a nutshell. The many people that moved here for the lifestyle will connect through outdoor activities, and even if you didn't move here for that, many will eventually come around to doing more outdoor activities. It's kind of like why so many people move to Colorado. They want that lifestyle in many cases. Well, Boulder is the same case, but in my opinion, on steroids. It's a town that has bike paths taking you throughout town without getting off a bike path, lane, or route. I mean, that might be exaggerating a tad, but it's pretty darn close to that. Now, its proximity to the mountains makes it easy to get to the trails in no time. From what I have found, even if you aren't big on exercising, a lot of people hike. It's a way of meeting friends instead of meeting for coffee or drinks. Now, don't get me wrong, people also meet for those, but in Boulder, you're more likely to also throw in getting together for a hike or bike ride. I know that I would meet for bike rides with friends, and that was our way of getting together. Now, what also happens in Boulder is that the town integrates exercise into it. Now, this is an example from when my kids were younger. There's the popular 10K Boulder race that is run every year. Well, elementary schools have an optional after-school organized activity where parents along with their child can prepare for the 10K run. There is a pre-designated route that you can either run or walk. Now, it's nice because the children walk or run with their friends and the mothers do the same thing. I know that I've participated in it a few times, and psychologically it really promotes exercise and prepares you for the race. Another way that exercise is promoted in town is with the Bike to Work Day, which sounds exactly as it is, except with stops along the way at restaurants that provide coffee and breakfast. Now, this next comment will be my segue into my number 2 pro. What also promotes this outdoor lifestyle is the consciousness people have around food. In general, people eat really healthy. Being vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, and dairy-free is not at all unusual. It's very easy to find restaurants and stores to cater to this lifestyle. I know that many people in Boulder were gluten-free way before it became the trend. I was one of those people, and I would say it's probably been about 15 years since I'm gluten-free. I think that eating well goes hand in hand with a healthy lifestyle. I don't know the rate of obesity in Boulder, but I can guarantee you that it is extremely low. So in the end, I'd say that there is a strong focus on health and wellness, with many people adopting a healthy lifestyle through food, fitness, and outdoor activities. One of the features I like about Boulder is that you can get some healthy fast food, and there are many places to choose from. Now, finding healthy fast food is certainly not a sure thing in many towns, but it is present in Boulder. My favorite fast food healthy restaurants are Flower Child, Thrive, Leaf, and Sweet Green, and there are also many others. There are also the farm-to-table restaurants that are really popular. Now, jumping to my third pro are the many restaurants. For a town of this size, there are many types of cuisine and top restaurants to choose from. It's got you covered from fine dining to university student types of restaurants. Now, for fine dining, you've got Frasca, which is a Michelin-starred restaurant and won a James Beard Award. And for the late night university student, you can get deep fried Oreo cookies at midnight from Fat Shack. Not bad for a town with a population of 100,000 people. Also, it's a great place for craft beer with numerous breweries like Avery Brewing, which is one of Boulder's most well-known breweries. Then there's also Upslope Brewing Company that's popular, and of course, Boulder Beer Company, and there are many more also. There's also a distillery called Boulder Spirits. So if you are in town and want to sample a lot of these breweries, the distillery has tap rooms and tasting rooms where you can sample their products. Now, I don't know if the point I'm trying to convey is really coming through, but in my mind, Boulder has an atmosphere where there are a lot of cool things to do and a lifestyle that keeps you young. You're exercising, you're eating well, you're around people that value a progressive lifestyle, and you're in a beautiful setting. I feel that in the time I've lived in Boulder that I became more conscientious and lived a healthier lifestyle. Now, moving on to my fourth pro is the nice weather. I think it's a little secret about not necessarily Boulder, but the Denver area. Many people think that if you're living in Colorado, there must be a lot of snow. I think people assume that we have snow like the mountain towns. They see the amount of snow at the resorts and assume that we are getting the same amount of snow in Boulder. Now, during winter months, the snow is not that bad. Being at 5,000 feet in altitude, there's a lot of snow melting due to the high level of altitude and the sun melting it. So yes, we do have some cold weeks, but because of the high altitude, most times the snow will melt within a few days. There is about a month to a month and a half where the snow will stick around for that time. What's also really nice about Boulder weather is that you get the 4 seasons and they're all really distinctive. Fall is a beautiful time to be here. In general, the air is dry, but I've noticed that lately we are getting more humidity. We were in a drought for many years, but lately we are getting also a lot more rain than we've seen for many years. My 5th pro is the quality of education. Boulder Valley School District, according to niche.com, is given an A as an overall rating. And my experience with the school system was also very good. I felt the kids were getting a great education. So check out my link in my description beneath the video. Fairview High School is ranked 8th within Colorado. Lastly, what I had brought up at the top of my video, the way you can tell if someone is from Boulder or not, it's by the way they dress. When I'm at a coffee shop, I can easily spot Denverites coming to Boulder for the day. They'll be dressed more conservatively and a little more formal. I remember meeting another Denver agent for coffee in Boulder, and he really stuck out. He was a little too fashionable and trendy for what you'll see in Boulder. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. Again, I am a local real estate agent and would like to help you with your questions. Reach out and I'll get back to you. And please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Thanks again.